Good morning. It's just after 1 minute to 6 on Tuesday, the 16th of March, 1976. And welcome to those of you listening on 293 meters in the medium wave or 96 megahertz in the VHF band. In a few moments, the independent local radio programs of Downtown Radio will be coming on the air.
Downtown.
6 o'clock on Downtown Radio and over to the Downtown Radio News Desk.
Good morning. It's Tuesday the 16th of March. Downtown Radio News at 6 o'clock. Michael Beattie reporting. The first independent local radio station in Northern Ireland went on the air a few moments ago. Downtown Radio will broadcast from its studios in Newtownards and hopes to provide a service for most of the province. Here's our Managing Director, David Hannon.
We want to entertain as many people as possible, as much of the time as possible. At the same time, we hope that this new station of ours will be able to bring something new into people's lives. Of course, this means we must make a financial success of the undertaking because we have to stand on our own 2 feet.
Who's going to Crazy Prices?
We're all going to Crazy Prices.
Come along to Crazy Prices if you want a bargain. You'll find the food is cheaper.
You will see the values better.
Come along to Crazy Prices if you want a bargain.
I did a bit of work for the BBC. Don Anderson I had met in the BBC, and one stage I was still doing discos and stuff like that in the 70s. He came along to me and he said, would you be interested in coming along and having a look at commercial radio? And I said, certainly, that would be very interesting. Then he said, I've got a list of names here. He said, do you know Big T? I said, oh yeah, Trevor, great. John Paul, yes. Candy Divine, yes. So Don got everything together.
Don Anderson, he rang me and asked me could he meet me, and we met on the Strangford Arms, and that was it. Yeah. He said you're on, you know. So.
The building that we're sitting in right now was brand new. It had been designed completely from scratch as probably the Rolls Royce of its day of studio blocks. Wonderful soundproofing, very extensive. But all of that had to be kitted out.
I mean, we were here while they were still building it. And John Rosborough, JR as he's known, he was crawling about the bowels of the studio, putting wires in and connecting things.
John Paul, who was very excited, and the tension really, a lot of it fell to him because he was going to be carrying the first programme.
And a very good morning to you. Welcome along to the brand new sounds of Downtown Radio. Broadcasting on 293 meters in the medium wave band and 96 megahertz in the VHF band in stereo. Monday to Friday, each morning from 6 o'clock to right through to 9:15. This is John Paul with you. Sorry, my tongue's slightly tied up this morning. The excitement's killing me, you know.
John Paul's Morning Town.
Day number 1, we're all hanging about drinking a wee bit of shampoo. And I'm waiting nervously for my programme, watching John Paul vomiting into the wastepaper bin. He would have this big fry.
And that made me nervous because I thought, my God, you know, John Paul is not a nervy type guy. I would be the one that secretly would be nervy. So that made me a bit funny, you know. But no, I was okay once I got started, I must admit.
Big T's about to be a biggie.
Who's telling you?
Yes, indeed, that's Big T's bound to be a biggie this week on 293. The Drifters and Hello Happiness, and actually Big T's in the studio. Say good morning to the world, Trevor.
Good morning, world.
And Big T will be with you between 12 and 2, isn't that right, Trevor?
That is absolutely correct.
And we also have another gentleman called Handy who is not around at the minute, but I no doubt he'll drop in and say good morning to you.
I did various programmes. I did the mid-morning, which was 9 to 12. And then afternoon was Brian McSherry. And then Candy Divine did the drive time programme late in the afternoon. So, yeah, great days. Absolutely brilliant.
It certainly did take off very, very popular. It was quite amazing how recognisable we seemed to be right away.
If you just switched on your transistor radio and have found something rather strange that hasn't been there before, welcome to the brand new sounds of Downtown Radio, broadcasting on 293 meters in the medium wave band and 96 megahertz in the VHF band in stereo. You're with The John Paul
Still,
Morning
people
Show
come up to me nowadays and they say, "You used to be handy."
We all had a specialist show, and I suggested that I would like to do country, and the country proved to be so very popular, and it maintained its popularity.
Big T he's a legend. He is somebody who has maintained his enthusiasm and love of radio and of country music. That's been undimmed all the time that he's been broadcasting. And it's a testimony to him that he's been able to go from year to year and basically keep things at that passionate level.
And he knows, more importantly, the country music that the Northern Ireland audience wants to hear. And he's still playing it. He's still here.
Yes, indeed. The sounds of Marmalade right there from Scotland, and they are falling apart at the seams. Quick good morning to everyone in Radio Clyde in Glasgow, who's just sent us lots of good wishes for the future. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Taking us up to 6:20 at the news. This is Guys and Dolls, the old Dusty Springfield hit called You Don't Have to Say You Love Me.
Somewhere like Northern Ireland, I think very much benefited from a radio service that was shared. The experience, the humour, the way that we speak, that was something that certainly in the early days brought people together. They hadn't heard anything that was speaking so directly to their own part of the world.
That's a gentleman called Tony Kenny right there in a song called Don't Let Life Get You Down. And where did all these hands come from? Seriously, girls at the hospital, good luck on your SRN exam this morning. I hope you pass it. Of course you will. Listening to 293, you must pass it.
Take it away, Eric, the orchestra leader.
John Paul.
In the earliest days of Downtown, and when I first came here and came into radio, you were pretty much, a show was the building blocks, whereby you were piecing together all the CDs. You were sourcing it all from a record library. You were bringing down your stacks of CDs. Big T, and those with maybe a few more years than me will remember that being final. And again, CDs at the time seemed easy compared to final. I remember splicing tape on a reel to reel.
The decor's different, the equipment's different, but where you actually sit and the whole operating desk is sort of exactly where it was.
There were 3 decks, 1, 2, 3 decks. There was a microphone, of course. There was a block of cart machines, and you could have music on cartridge, but all the jingles and the ads were on cart as well. So you had to line them all up and make sure you played it in the right time. It was a bit of an art. You were busy, you know.
You were juggling a lot. And then you were researching everything yourself. You didn't have the internet for, knowing the weather and traffic and travel, just things that you would take for granted now on the radio. All that material, all that content had to be sourced from other means. And it could be, looking back on it now, ringing up, the police or the traffic control centre and transcripting the traffic and travel of the day and having to do that every 20 minutes for it to be read out on air.
In those days, we didn't play music off screens or even off CDs. There was good old-fashioned vinyl, which always sounded as if somebody was doing an Ulster Fry in the background, and we would have those.
Wherever you go, the sound on your radio should always be downtown.
I was on the phone with a lady. People steal the story all the time, but it genuinely happened to me. I was on the phone with a lady and I said, "Oh, what's your name?" "Oh, Mrs. So-and-so." And I said, "Where are you from?" "Belfast." And I said, "Have you got any children?" "Yes, I have 3. And I said, "What are they?" Meaning, what, boys, girls. She said, "No, they're Protestants like myself."
A reserve policeman's been shot in the neck during a terrorist ambush in County Fermanagh, and in County Tyrone, soldiers narrowly escaped injury when a landmine exploded. Wendy Austin reports.
The Fermanagh shooting happened shortly before midnight as a police patrol drove through Derry Lynn.
The newsroom was staffed from 5:30 a.m. right up until just after 1 a.m. So calls would come into the newsroom who knew exactly how to handle them, because they could have been literally life and death in their implication. So the news team, everyone takes their hats off to them because they did an amazing job in very difficult times.
Soldiers on their way back from checking an anonymous bomb warning had a narrow escape when a landmine exploded behind their vehicle. The blast blew out windows in houses and a young girl had to be treated for shock.
In the breakfast show, we had news every 20 minutes. And, I mean, the Troubles were still very current at that time, so news was of the essence, and a lot of people tuned in particularly for the news. And we had the cream of the crop as far as news team was concerned.
2 anonymous telephone calls last night warned of a bomb at a filling station. A police spokesman said the road will remain closed until the area has been thoroughly searched.
In the newsroom, constantly they were getting coded messages from the paramilitaries and various organisations. So immediately you'd put out the warning straight away and tell people to avoid the area. And then you were just relying on our radio cars to be around the area and sending stuff back, and we were able to keep people in touch with what was happening. That was the nice thing about the radio cars. They could go on air straight away while they were there, you know, and able to keep people away from bomb scares and then follow up with what had happened and when the roads were clear.
The hotel in Belfast is likely to be closed for some months after yesterday's bomb attack. The inside of the hotel was badly damaged when 4 bombs exploded. 2 others were defused by army experts. The devices were planted after a couple who booked into the hotel posing as honeymooners held up staff. The Provisional IRA have claimed responsibility for the attack.
We thought we should really be entertaining people because it was such a dreadful time, and we ourselves didn't get involved in anything trouble-wise because it would have defeated the whole purpose of the thing, because we looked after both sides of the argument, really, you know, Republicans and loyalists and all of that sort of thing, and we thought everybody should be together doing the one thing, and we hope sometimes that we were able to bring people together on the radio, you know.
And this is Sunshine. Catch a falling star and stick it in your pocket.
Catch a falling star and put it in your pocket. Never let it fade away.
Well, it was the first station that really people could listen to for music. Radio Ulster or BBC Northern Ireland opted in and out of national for a bit of music every now and again. So suddenly there was a station playing music all day.
The local music business, it was very important that what they had produced reached an audience. And sometimes there was a tension there because they had an expectation that anything that had been recorded locally would be played on local radio. But in the real world, you have to make a decision based on editorial quality. And if something is below standard, it's not really fair to inflict that on an audience. If it's a good standard, then the opposite applies. It'll be played with a heart and a half and really do good things, hopefully.
Yes, indeed. That's the band called Sunshine. And their new single called Catch a Falling Star and Stick It in Your Pocket.
293.
A young man called Simon Cowell used to come down, pluggers. Great guys. They used to take you out for these really boozy lunches. But Simon used to always bring these projects he had, like the Woolpackers, you know, those sort of Christmas records. Yes. And he used to take us out these great lunches, and they'd say, well, will you play that, will you? We'd say, well, not sure, Simon, but we'll see. We'll leave it to the head of music.
It was a different industry then, too. I mean, people used to ring up and say, would you like to go to Dusseldorf to see Patti Smith on Tuesday? And you'd think, why not?
Super, 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 super Mac. We all shop at Super Mac, the great big family store. It's nice to go to Super Mac for all you need and more. Super Mac.
Do you remember there was a weather girl on breakfast television called Wincy Willis? Yes. Wincy was the record plugger for DJM, which was short for Dick James Music, and their raison d'etre was Elton John. All his classic early albums were on DJM, and Wincy used to come over, and I remember she said, I've got this new guy called John Miles, and we had to go with John Miles. But then we picked up a song, the radio station, everybody played it, called California Freeway by Dave Freeman. And it got such a reaction in Northern Ireland. And don't forget, there were 20 diaries for the chart, the UK chart here in Northern Ireland. And on the back of the success here, DJM reissued it. Now, it never was a huge hit, but it was a minor one. It was certainly, as they used to say back then, a turntable hit here.
The sound on your radio should always be downtown. So much more music and the friendliest people here on 293 downtown.
We love local radio, we love local voices, we love local personalities in Northern Ireland. It shines through head and shoulders above most other UK regions.
Broadcasting on 293 metres in the medium wave band and 96 megahertz in the VHF band in stereo. Monday to Friday, each morning from 6 o'clock to right through to 9:15. This is John Paul with you. Sorry, my tongue's slightly tied up this morning. The excitement's killing me, you know.
John Paul.
Once I hear the word downtown radio before I came here, I always thought Candy Devine. That was just the one name that always popped in, just that the lovely voice that she had. Prior to that, you had where we are now, Richard and Ivan, you know, doing the breakfast show. And I mean, I was well young then. Again, backseat of the car, that's what your parents would have been listening to.
Linda Jane was hugely popular, and the audience loved her.
I knew Linda Jane from UTV. I had been doing a bit of work in there as well. And Linda Jane was a continuity announcer. She also worked in the Milk Marketing Board. And my father-in-law was the chief engineer in the Milk Marketing Board, a man called Jack Bowden. And I got to go to this great Milk Marketing Board dance every Christmas, which was called the Board Dance. It was the Milk Marketing Board Dance. There were lots of people there. And Linda Jane was there. And at that stage, managing directors had changed over the couple of years. Ivan Tinman was then the managing director, and he said, do you know any good female presenters that would do us? And I said, well, there's a great girl, I'm sure you've seen her on telly, Linda Jane. Would you be interested in having a wee chat? So I rang her up, and Ivan chattered, we chat, and the next thing she started.
293.
Want to know how to lose pounds without spending? Drink and shrink with the famous 7-day milk diet. You can lose up to 7 pounds in a week. No special slimming foods, no harsh exercise. Just normal portions of nourishing natural foods and a pint of milk a day. Ask your milkman for copies of the 7-day milk diet, or send a stamped addressed envelope to the Dairy Council, Castle Arcade Buildings, Belfast.
293.
Linda was the girl next door and came across in a very approachable way. She had a tremendous ability to absorb lots of information, so if she interviewed an author, she had read the book and she knew what to ask. And basically people just warmed to Linda immediately and loved listening to her.
Linda Jane's wardrobe was like these two doors that opened into the Robinson Cleavers or Anderson Macaulay. She just opened and then there was, you know, and she used to say, I've nothing to wear, you know, and Trevor, he used to go,
I think there were 6 people claimed to have introduced Big T to Linda Jane. And actually, none of them, the guy who did introduce us, I think, approached us once and said, I am the guy. And we didn't recognise him, pure and simply because it was a festival week or civic week at Beaver Estate in Belfast. And Linda and I were both judges. I arrived as one of the judges in the talent competition. The hall was packed. And I said to the guy, who are the other judges? And he named a couple of people, and he said Linda Jane from Ulster Television. And I thought, oh my God, and so that was the actual first time we met. So it was the guy in Beaver who actually introduced us. We went on that night to a cocktail tasting thing in the Stormont Hotel. So the manager of the Stormont, he claimed that was his claim to fame as well. And Trevor McClintock, who was managing director of Gilby's, who sponsored the gay. So it was on.
We have the news coming at 20 to 7, so to take us up there, a little piece of backing music. Actually, I've settled down slightly.
So many good memories, it's almost impossible to put them into a few sentences. One highlight for me was the fact that a drama, because Downtown did some dramas in the 90s, one in particular was about the Battle of the Somme on the 75th anniversary, and it was a dramatisation of what life was like in the trenches at the start of the battle. And because my grandfather had been in the Battle of the Somme on the first day and was seriously injured, it was very heartwarming that the programme itself won a gold award in the New York radio festivals.
And as you know, this is a commercial radio station for Northern Ireland, and of course we have to play commercials.
293. Even Downtown Radio couldn't start the day without them. They certainly are first.
What are you talking about?
Sausages.
Oh, sausages? Our Billy wouldn't eat anything else.
Toad in the hole? Then that might be very, very nice.
They're no ordinary bangers.
I like that.
Yes, more and more people are enjoying that rich, succulent pork, subtly blended with herbs.
What you mean is everyone's getting on the scent of the Cookstown sizzle.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. A girl could become addicted.
I remember the late Harry Castles once doing a trip from Scotland across to Bangor in a hot air balloon, and he was due to arrive in Bangor during our programme. So somehow they rigged him up that he could talk live to us on air. And the first insert went very well, and it was all hunky-dory and everything was wonderful. The second one, the wind had got up as he was coming into Bangor, and instead of floating, if indeed that's what you do in a hot air balloon, gently to his assigned landing area, he was blown off course and ended up hitting the seawall at Bangor. And with great professionalism, he said, "Ivan, I'm about to hit the seawall, so perhaps you'd better get rid of me and play some music." So we played, naturally enough, Castles in the Air.
But I think we've got things under control, and my good friend Peter Lloyd is standing beside me, making sure that nothing goes wrong.
The other brilliant thing was the outside broadcasts we did. The very first one I think that I did, was we had this van with our station wagon with an aerial that came out the top. And I think it could have been an Irish Cup final down at the Oval. And we went down just to pick up the atmosphere. We weren't doing commentary or anything like that, but the BBC were. And I went down there with our broadcast wagon and got down. Brian McCusker, I think, was the chief engineer then, or Headley Riley, one or the other. Just pumped the aerial up. Up it went, switched on, pushed the thing in, and there we were. This great, well-known sound guy from the BBC called Dixie Dean, he was stringing endless wires out of these trucks, and he comes over and he goes, "Are you ready to broadcast now?" And we said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that's going up to Crone Hill, up at Craigantlet, and then it goes down by landline down to Downtown Radio." And that's the way it works. And we have RT, radio telephone contact with the studio. I said, you've got... He says, with 2 circuits, he says, in case one goes down, you know, and we said, well, we've only got the one, so if it goes, it goes, you know. But it was just, I mean, we were there for half an hour, getting the atmosphere, aerial down, unplugged, switched off, boom, away again. I mean, we'd have taken him all night to de-rig, you know.
The big sounds of Commander Cody and the Lost Planet Airmen at 24.5 minutes after 6 o'clock. Yes, indeed. We will make lots of mistakes this morning, I believe.
Morning Town.
Actually, there's something about doing a radio program that...
The home of great music.
Good morning, the time now 8:22. It's going to be a cold and frosty start for many parts, although this afternoon's looking good. Plenty of sunshine around, a top temperature of 12 degrees.
I still have letters from the 80s when I was at school that I wrote to Downtown Radio asking for a job here, and was told you're probably best to get an education first, because I was about 12 years of age. And so for me, driving into school, parents would have been listening to the station. This was the job I wanted to do, and I feel every day very fortunate and privileged to get this job and to have it.
Okay, they're all in front of you. Have a wee dig there and see which one we're going for.
I'll tell you what, got quite a few through this morning. Len, Steal My Sunshine. We've got Vanessa Amorosi. Vanessa Amorosi.
I think it's important for any radio station to stay relevant and representative to the audience it's served. You can't stand still. The media landscape changes, the technology is changing, and Downtown needs to move with the times.
Today, your A or your B, please let us know on the text at 63103.
You have to keep up to date with Mike. I've got an 18-year-old grandson, and the music he listens to is utter rubbish as far as I'm concerned. But then I remember my mother and father, I'd say, have you heard the Beatles? You know, and they'd go, what sort of Rolling Stone? What sort of music is that? So, I mean, it does change.
I'm just getting too old for this nonsense.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. 8:28.
You know, I have nothing but good memories about being at Downtown Radio. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And, you know, I'm glad I'm not one of these aging broadcasters who's got a chip on both shoulders and even balancedly tells you it was better in my day. You know, it wasn't, it was just different.
I always think ahead to the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and where will Downtown Radio be then, even long after I've gone, you know, for the next generation of presenters and programmers that come up through here. And I'm always mindful of that. And I think one of the important things is that the station remains relevant, that it can be true and respectful of its long-standing heritage as the first radio station that opened up in Northern Ireland, but it can also be a station that is every bit as appealing to younger people still to this day.
Yes, indeed, we had a slight mishap there with one of the cartridges. It just stopped in the middle for some reason or other. We got the news coming in, 1 minute 45 seconds. I have a postcard here that says, please could you dedicate a record on the first hour of the...